Hey everyone, it's Freeloader here. I wanted to take an opportunity and show you all how to use our new BS guide to Stormbound draft mode. All right, I know we've been talking about it a lot, and I don't know if everybody knows exactly how to use it, so I figured why not give it a shot. So if you haven't seen it, this is what it looks like. It has along the bottom every single round, all the way up through round 12 of your picks, and I'll show you how to get through it. But I figured the easiest way to do that is actually to just do a draft, right? So let's go through. You can see it in action. So we are going to draft. We're going to pay our 600 gold. Yes, we absolutely want to do this. All right, and right off the bat, we are given three choices, right? So Zuri, Lady Rhyme, and Broodmother Cordia are our choices. What does that mean for us? It means more than just how good these cards are, right? So if we go back to the draft guide, you can see that Zuri is a very good card. Lady Rhyme less so. And Broodmother Cordia is tier 0, so one of the best legendaries we can hope to get. Although all of that is true, we also have additional data for you over here if you want to have some idea of what are your chances of drawing a dud draft. So what are the chances that you'll draw 0 T0 cards? In theory, you have a very, very low chance of drawing no T0 cards. Your highest chance is actually in Tribes of Shadowfen, but it turns out that that's okay because our first offer is a tier 0 card. So we know that we'll at least get one. And then over here we tell you, here's, based on probabilities, what the expected number of T0 cards you will get. And then down here we show you the actual population distribution. T0, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 up at the top. So you can see that Shadowfen has slightly more T0 cards than the other factions, but when you combine them with the tier 1, you can see that Ironclad's actually slightly stronger, as is Winter. Swarm, well, Swarm's struggling a little bit in this particular format. All of these numbers change dynamically as we re-rate cards, right? So just because you see them this way right now, don't just put it in your mind, oh, Shadowfen's the best. Shadowfen currently is the best, but as we better refine the tier ratings of each card, that might not be the case. So it's always a good idea to just kind of pop over here and have a quick look and see if things are as you expect. In this case, though, we know that Broodmother Cordia is a T0 card, and so that's what we're going to take. All right, so now that we took our first card, we are given Soul Crushers, Reign of Frogs, and Blood Ministers, because the second card will always be an epic from the faction No Mana Limit. Oh, No Mana Limit. Coming over here, you can see what we give you are the epics from each faction, because these are the only cards. This is the entire population that you can be shown. You'll be shown 3 cards out of this population, and since we chose Shadowfen, this is the box we want to look at. And we can see that Hairy Chestnuts is really bad. In fact, pretty much everything is really bad, except for one card, Soul Crushers. Soul Crushers is actually fantastic in this mode, and it just so happens that we were offered Soul Crushers. So, going back, let's pick our Soul Crushers. Okay. Next up, we are given 3 cards. These 3 cards are all rares. They have to be 3 mana or under, and they can be either from faction or neutral. So again, we've got Worms, Sea Dogs, Big Thrust. These are not fantastic picks, but if we go back and we take a look, now we go to round 3. Again, you can see each faction has their own box. It's the mix of neutral and faction rares, 3 mana or less. In this case, we really wanted to see Lost Psyches or Trekking Aldermen. We saw neither. We would not mind seeing Erratic Neglects, Green Prototypes, and Big Thrust. Big Thrust is okay. It's not fantastic, but it's okay. It's certainly the best of the bunch. We don't want North Sea Dog and Wandering Worms is god awful. So, ignoring those two, let's go back and let's pick our Big Thrust. Okay, so we've got Big Thrust, and now we have another option. This one is 4 mana and under, same set. It's the faction and neutral rares. So, going back once more, let's have a peek and see what we think about Wetland, Spare Dragonlings, and Venomfall. Well, yeah. Spare Dragonlings can be okay. It at least is a cheap movement card. There's not much more to say about it than that. Wetland Deceivers is terrible, although I just had a conversation with Reckless, and he suggests that they are better than we're giving them credit for. I don't think in this particular case we're going to go for it, though. We're gonna take our Spare Dragonling. Venomfall Spire is just nowhere near good enough. It's not enough of a value card without synergy. We don't know if we're going to find synergy, so let's just ignore it and grab the Spare Dragonling. All right, Headless Hotlids, Powder Tower, and Marked as Prey. Going back again, now we are into round 5 of our draft. Round 5 is still rares from faction or neutral, but there's no longer a mana constraint. So here we scroll down to our Shadowfen box. We can see this is what we have to choose from. And we can see that we really wanted Lost Psyche's Trekking Aldermen or Fluffy Bad Boxers. We didn't see any of them. After that, we have some more. Marked as Prey is listed as a tier 1, but again, we'd have to roll the dice that in our commons we would find a poisoning, so like Copperskin or Crimson Century or Toxic Sacrifice. And it turns out that in 3 and under for commons, that's very, very likely. So maybe the thing to do here. We also could take Headless Hotheads, which I like quite a bit. Marked as Prey, though, is really kind of sexy. Do we want to go for it? I think we do. You know what? Let's go for it this round and see what happens. So we come back over to our pick. Powder Tower was never really in contention. Gosh, Marked as Prey, though. Clears 5. This is, you know what? Let's roll it. Let's go. Alrighty. So now we're into our next round, round 6, which is also any mana. We just happen to hit very low mana cards, which we certainly don't mind in this case. Looking here, we have to move ourselves to round 6. And this is what we have to choose from. It turns out that we got a couple of decent hits here. Erratic Neglects is actually very exciting, and I think it's what we're going to pick up. We're not in love with... Oh, dear. Where is... I don't even see it. Oh, there's Faithless Prophets. It's tier 2. So yeah, so we're probably not going to take that. And Sly Boots is the last one. So going back, where is Sly Boots? Sly Boots is also tier 2. Well, I guess that makes it an easy choice, right? So let's go back in. Last one was more difficult. This one was easier. We'll take Erratic Neglects, please. Now we are into our commons. And remember what we talked about. We said that, oh, well, Marked as Prey has a lot of synergies, and the synergies tend to be low-cost commons inside of the faction cards. So here we are. We have none of the tier 0. Here, I'll show you real quick. We have none of the T0 cards that we would be looking for in commons. Dubious Hags, Gifted Recruits, Heliotroopers, or Westwind Sailors would be the 4 cards that we could be off, or 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, that we could be offered right now. We didn't get any of those, but what we got instead was something that's really exciting for us because we need synergy. We got Copperskin. So we rolled the dice, we found it, let's take it. All right, and remember what I was just saying. Now we're into the commons and faction cards for commons. Commons and faction, common, we're in the common cards, faction and neutral, 4 and under. So once we get to 4 and under, you could see that we really didn't gain too much in terms of tier zeros, but we have one. Westwind Sailors was offered to us, and we will gladly accept that. The other two are not particularly strong in this case. Hair-raising cats, we would have had to already seen Sweetcap to even think about taking it, and Temple of the Mind is just a no. So with that in mind, we take our Westwind Sailors. Oh, look at what we find the next round. That's okay. So we've got Personal Servers, Warfront Runners, and Sweetcat Kittens. This is for commons of any mana, so it's a little surprising to see all these low-cost cards. But with that in mind, we have no tier 0 cards offered to us. We do have, however, Summon Militia, Sweetcap Kittens right here, tier 1. Aside from that one, I don't believe Warfront Runners or Personal Servers make... Oh, well, Warfront. We could also go for a runner if we want to go with a runner. It's tempting. We'd have to level it up before it really started mattering, is the biggest concern. And Personal Servers is where... Also a tier 1 card. So we have 3 tier 1 cards here. And the question is, of them, which one do we think is best? And the answer is probably Sweetcap, just because it can do some work for us in staving off front, which feels pretty good, I think. Personal Servers will also do fairly well, though, and it gives us movement. So let's go back and take a look and see what we have for movement so far. Neglects, no. Big Thrust, sometimes. Copperskin, no. Spare Dragonling, yes. Westwind, yes. Marked as Prey, no. Soul Crusher's Broodmother. I hate to say it, but maybe we want that Personal Servers just for the movement. And maybe we want the Warfront Runners just because we don't have a runner yet. This is a tough call. I think we're going to go, though, with the Warfront Runners. I think I want to pick up a runner here if we can. And now we get, oh dear, a very large Seasick Bouncers. So if we go back over to our guide, now we can see what we have. We weren't going to get too many more tier 0 cards into the pool, but we certainly didn't get offered any of them. Crimson Sentry gives us a lot of movement and a second activator for our Marked as Prey, which feels pretty good. Plus it's an AoE. The other two don't feel anywhere near as good. Blue Sail Raiders is just a very expensive 3 damage to base. And with Warfront Runners, I don't think we want to have to level up 2 runners. So I think we're going to go with Crimson Sentry. Yep, I think Crimson Sentry is the way to go. Oh dear, this is interesting. So, we do have Sunbeam Serpents. And Sunbeam Serpents, because we have Spare Dragonling, Sunbeam Serpents has the opportunity to really get big. I mean, really big. With Broodmother, we already have our Spare Dragonling Broodmother combo, which is pretty sweet. But you can Broodmother on 6, the following turn Spare Dragon to buff one of them, and then Sunbeam. And boy, that's a big combo. That might be a little too much to hope for. We do also have Harvesters, which can be a lot of fun, and Avian Stalkers is, here, I'll bring them up for you so you can see. Again, we're now into round 11, so all we see are the epics. Any mana from faction or neutral. And just looking at the tier 0s and tier 1s, you can see we didn't really get a lot of options that are super exciting. But in this case, because of the synergy we already have with Spare Dragonling, I'm thinking that Sunbeam Serpents isn't a tier 3, but potentially could get pretty big for us. So I think we go with it. We're making a Chonk Beam deck. Here we go. And finally, we have ourselves 3 options: Ubis, Collector Mers, and Loris. Now, it turns out that we would want to pick one of these anyway just for the high roll potential. If we get the Mers token that's a dragon, we are super excited with Sunbeam, correct? But on top of that, Mers is the only tier 0 neutral legendary. So boy, that's a good hit. And so because of that, and also like overall, we just want to try to keep our curve down. So because of that, we will select Mers. Maybe we high roll that token. And boy, look at this. 1, 3 2s, 1, 2, 3 3s. This much of our deck is playable on turn 1 going first. And you probably don't want to play Marked Prey going second unless your opponent opens with Helios. But the curve looks really good. I don't know, I think this is actually a fairly decent deck. Anyway, that's how you use the draft guide to help you through picking the cards for your deck. Give it a shot, see if it works for you. Always provide feedback to us if you think we've got a card mis-tiered. It happens all the time. We're adjusting constantly. And if you have any other feedback, we'd love to hear it. Come find us in our Discord channel. After that, just remember, good luck. Defense is for suckers, and always stay hydrated.